2008. A lot of people are saying that. I've heard people say that now for several years, that we are headed for a housing crash that is going to dwarf what we saw back in the great financial crisis. So have we started that? Have we actually started that housing crash? Well, after this live today, I want you to be the judge of that. Comment below. Tell me if we are headed for a housing crash worse than 2008. So I'm going to share with you some data that I researched this morning. It's data from Realtor.com and Zillow when it comes to inventory and prices. And this is important. This is how to track, folks, if there's going to be a housing market crash or if we're in one now or headed to one soon. So, first I want to hit on active listings. So active listings, active inventory for sale, and demand will drive prices. And that's going to drive a housing market crash. So if we have a lot of inventory, where's my hand? If we have a lot of inventory, but we have low demand, you're going to see prices come down. And back in the GFC, we had an explosion of inventory and not a lot of demand. And so prices crashed, right? So will that happen again? So let's look at active inventory to start off with. Now, the data I have only goes back to 2016, but I think this provides some context. So back in 2016, August of 2016, we had 1,460,000 homes on the market. 1,460,000 homes for sale. Then in August of 2017, we had 1,323,000 homes for sale. Back in August of 2019, we had 1,223,000 houses for sale. And now, August of 2024, we have $909,000 units for sale. So, inventory has steadily dropped since 2016. It's gone down. Active homes for sale has gone down year after year after year. Now, it has gone up from 23 to 24, right? 2023 to 2024, we have seen an increase in inventory, but we are 600,000 homes short of where we were in 2016. So in 2016, though, for new listings, homes hitting the market, we had 470,000 homes hit the market in August of 2016. In August of 2024, 383,000 homes hit the market just last month. That's a difference of nearly 100,000 new listings. Now, what about prices? Where have they gone? Well, I'm glad you asked. August 2016, $207,000 for the median sale price on a home. $207,000. You could buy a house in the United States, median price $207,000. Not bad, right? Those times are gone. All right. August of 2024, we're at $362,000. $362,000 is what we have now for a median sale price according to Zillow. So I'll ask you and you be the judge. We have had a steady decrease in active listings over the last decade. We have a steady decrease in new listings generally over the last decade. So we've steadily lost inventory. Not only new listings are bad, but active listings have not caught up, and they were crushed during the pandemic. We're near really historical lows still with active inventory when you really look at it. I mean, we went from a 1.4 million active listings in August 2016. Now we only have 909,000 active listings. So think back, just before the pandemic, I want you to think back. If you were in the housing market, if you were looking for a home, if you were someone who was a realtor or in real estate, were prices crashing in 2016, 2017, 2019 before the pandemic? Were they crashing? No, they were not. We went from $207,000 in 2016 to $245,000 in 2019, in August of 2019. So prices went up from 2016. They went up in 2017. They went up in 2019. Then they went up more to 2023, obviously. So people have this idea that, if we get back to the levels of inventory that we saw in 2019 and 2018 and 2017, that home prices are going to crash. They're going to crash and burn. We're doomed and done for. But when I look at this, and unless my math is wrong, median price increased from 2016 to 2017 to 2019. Prices increased. They didn't decrease. So if you want to get back to pre-pandemic market conditions, just know that we were losing inventory and prices were accelerating even before the pandemic. And I think that speaks volumes to your expectations. That should give you some pause with your expectations of a housing market crash. Like if you were in 2016 and 17 and 19 and thought, hey, home prices are going to crash, I'm going to wait on the sidelines for another crash like we had back in the great financial crisis back in 2008. You're still waiting today. And unfortunately, if you keep doing that, prices could just keep accelerating. I mean, we're not even close to the levels of inventory we had back in 2016 and 2017. Not even close. I mean, we're what? Again, we're 500,000 units off of 2016. And again, I'll ask you, maybe I'm just beating a dead horse here, but like prices weren't crashing in 2016. They weren't crashing in 2017. So if you're waiting for, inventory to explode back to pre-pandemic levels, prices weren't decreasing then. Now, one could make the argument that prices accelerated way too fast during the pandemic, and I think that's what people who are waiting for a housing market crash are hanging on to, that prices have accelerated so much that there's no way they can't fall. But supply and demand drives drives prices. Supply and demand drives prices. So demand's at an all-time low right now. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Demand, I believe, is at an all-time low. But prices aren't crashing because inventory still sucks. It just sucks. Inventory sucks. There's nothing out there that's like, generally speaking, that's good and for sale. So to see a pricing crash, we've got to have an explosion of new listings, in my opinion, and an explosion in active listings. We just have to. And I can tell you as a realtor and investor, there is not an explosion of new listings, at least not in Ohio. And nationally, you can see it. We have 383,000 new listings in August of this year. Back in 2017 in August, we had 500,000 new listings. And remember, prices weren't crashing then. They were not crashing. I believe we had over 1 million back in the GFC. I don't have that number in front of me, unfortunately. But I believe during the GFC 2008, we had over 1 million active listings hitting the new listings hitting the market every month. So we're like so far from that number, it's not even funny. So it's like, it's one of those things that you have to just have some perspective and go, all right, well, if there's more homes for sale, less demand, prices will go down. But if there's not an acceleration of active listings, and if demand, heaven forbid, if demand goes up soon, if rates start to come down or they continue to drop, and we see a rise in demand, and we don't have a rise in active inventory, you want to talk about doom. You want to talk about a crash upwards, and the people waiting are going to crash and burn. Now, not saying you should buy a deal right now. You should only buy if it makes sense. Only buy if it makes sense for you. I'm not telling you to buy a house right now or buy an investment property. I've looked at deal after deal after deal this month. I just spent all day yesterday looking at deals, multifamily deals in Ohio, and none of them work. I mean, none of them cash flow that I could find. So don't buy unless it makes sense. So I'm not telling you to buy. So if you're waiting on the sidelines, that's okay. But but to have the expectation that there's going to be a housing market apocalypse, like you're going to wake up one morning and like this, like it's the movie Legend, right? Where the sun rises, that horrible Tom Cruise movie. Actually, not a bad movie. I kind of like it. But the sun rises and people are like, the sun's on the horizon. We're doomed. Like people think that's what's going to happen to the housing market. Like the apocalypse is rising, right? And like the atomic bomb or something. But it's going to be a slow grind. It's going to be slow if we, to build inventory. You've got to have sellers that want to sell. Right now, sellers don't want to sell. They just don't want to. Most homeowners are like, dude, I'm fine. I've got equity. I've got a low rate. I ain't going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So I'm not putting my house on the market. And that's a affordable house maybe that they have to put on the market. And then somebody trying to buy an affordable house, that inventory is not there. So anyway, I thought I'd provide some context today for this. I'm going to do a deep dive and actually do a video on this and put it out there on this data because it's startling. Again, back before the pandemic, house prices were not crashing. Inventory was way more than we have now. So unless we find like 1 million active listings quickly, I don't see how prices are going to drop, but we'll keep watching it because if active inventory spikes over 1.5 million units available, if new listings spike over 1 million a month, then yeah, price crash would be here. But that's what to watch nationally and definitely what to watch in your local market. I got some comments here. I'm Waldo. That's awesome. That's cool. I guess I am I look like Waldo, I guess. That's okay. Somebody else said, hey there, Hog Ridu. I don't know how you say that. This other person said, does your boyfriend feel the same way? About the housing market? I hope so. I hope my friends feel the same way. Yeah, they shouldn't freak out and think that there's going to be a housing market crash without looking at the data. So anyway, hey, check me out on my Redfin Live update. That's a great way to track my the housing markets locally and nationally. I do those every Thursday morning around 11 a.m. Eastern, where I dive into the latest Redfin housing market update. Yeah, and make it a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning on my daily housing crash update. Scary stuff.